Hello, welcome to my channel. Today we're looking into the disappearance of Nyleen K. Marshall. It says she was last seen June 25th, 1983 from Elkhorn Mountains, east of Clancy, born September 18th, 1978, 4 years old. She would have been 15 in 1994. She vanished during a family outing in the Elkhorn Mountains east of Clancy on the afternoon of Saturday, June 25th, 1983. At the time, they didn't know if she was lost or abducted. She was barefoot and wearing shorts and a t-shirt when she wandered off while playing near Beaver Dams on Malpin Creek, about 15 miles south of Helena. The rain-plagued search extended 2 weeks and involved tracking dogs, helicopters, airplanes, divers, and hundreds of volunteers who combed creek bottoms, mountain ridges, mine shafts. The girl had been with her parents, Kim and Nancy Marshall, who were attending a ham radio operators gathering in the area. She was last seen by other children along the creek. The Marshalls now live in Japan, said Campbell, who talks to them occasionally. Searchers found no trace of the girl, nor has any evidence been turned up in the woods in the years since. No clothes, no body, no bones, the undersheriff said, but there's also nothing in the way of positive evidence to say she was abducted. And I was looking at her chin compared to the other little girl that went missing in 1980. Their way their faces are shaped and their chin and stuff, I thought that was interesting anyway. So here she is on NamUs, and it just says she was last seen with an outing with her family, and brown hair, blue eyes. And here's a picture of her. And here's a picture of the other little girl that went missing that was 2 years old. You see what I mean about their chins? I just thought, wow, that's odd. They look like they could be sisters, don't they? Anyway, here it is on Wikipedia. You can pause this and read it if you want to. And it says, 2 years after her disappearance, it says, as well as Marshall's family received phone calls and letters from an anonymous man claiming to have abducted her. In the letters and phone calls, the man detailed sexual abuse but alleged that Marshall was safe and had traveled the world with him. The identity of the anonymous caller and writer is unknown. Marshall's disappearance had received coverage, unsolved mysteries, as well as television figure Nancy Grace. June 25th, 1983, she attended a picnic with her family at a campground at the Helena National Forest, Helena, Montana. It was about 4 p.m. She was playing with other children who had walked ahead of her near the Beaver Dams on Malpin Creek. When they turned around, she was nowhere to be seen. This talks about the search efforts. Whoops. And then it talks about the phone calls and the letters. November 27th, 1985, 2 years after Marshall's disappearance, an anonymous phone call was placed from a man claiming to have abducted her. 2 months later, in early 1986, a typewritten letter was sent to law enforcement in Wisconsin from an anonymous man claiming he had picked up a girl named Kay. The letter included details about Marshall's disappearance that had never been released to the public. One detective described him as being privy to things that a normal person would not have access to. The writer of the letter explained that he had a good investment income and worked from home, where he homeschooled Kay. He also claimed to travel frequently with her through the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom. He claimed that though he knew her family missed her, he loved her and could not return her. The letter was postmarked from Madison, Wisconsin. Around the same time, an anonymous caller claimed to be the writer of the letter placed several phone calls to Child Find of America, a national missing children nonprofit in New York. The phone calls made it to Child Find were traced to several phone booths, including one located near a pharmacy in Edgerton, Wisconsin. Law enforcement disclosed that information relayed from the caller, and in the letter suggested Marshall was a victim of sexual abuse. Excerpts from the letter that were shown during the case 1990s airing and Unsolved Mysteries read. I didn't want their person to try to get information from her. All I could tell them was that she was okay. I hope Child Find can get the following back to her family. I picked Kay up on the road in the Elkhorn Park area between Helena and Boulder. She was crying and frightened, and as I held her, she was shaking, and I decided that I would keep her and love her. I took her home with me. I have a nice investment income, and I can work at home, so I care for her myself all the time. I teach her at home, and she likes to go with me when I travel. Her hair is short and curly now, and she has really grown. She's about 45 inches and around 50 pounds. She has all 4 of her permanent upper and 2 of her lower incisors at this time. She takes a bath and brushes her teeth every day. She eats well. Her favorite meal is pizza and cherry. She would gladly recount to you trips to San Francisco, New York, Oklahoma City, New Orleans, Nashville, Chicago, Puerto Rico, and Canada. We were even in Britain for a month last year, and she loved it. Nobody questions passports. It is where it comes from, only that I get it from the bathroom every morning. It is actually a spoonful. What? It doesn't. What? I never molested her in any other way. She's a sweet little girl, and it's because of how much I have grown to love her that I realize how much her family must miss her. But she has adjusted and seems happy. She trusts me and isn't afraid. We play a lot, and she laughs when we clown around. She smiles and acts coy when I tease her. She giggles when we snuggle and hugs me sometimes for no apparent reason. I love her and have her, and I just can't let her go. Sometime after the receipt of the letters and phone calls, a witness claimed to have seen a girl resembling Marshall at a restaurant in Janesville, Wisconsin. After the receipt of the letters, an unnamed individual claimed to have murdered Marshall and disposed of her body in a mine shaft near Helena. The mine shaft, which has since been sealed, was searched to no result. Incidentally, after the airing of Marshall's case on Unsolved Mysteries in 1990, a tip received from a viewer who believed Marshall may have been one of his school classmates in Bellingham, Washington, led to the recovery of Monica Vanilla, a young girl who had gone missing in 1982 from Burbank, California, having been kidnapped by her non-custodial father. By 1994, the Marshall family had relocated from Montana to Japan. The following year, in 1995, Marshall's mother, Nancy, was murdered in Mexico. In 1997, a nurse at a New Orleans hospital reported a potential sighting of Marshall and her abductor. The nurse stated that the 19-year-old woman, calling herself Helena, came into the hospital with an unidentified man in hope of being admitted to give birth. The woman stated she thought her mother may have been named Nyleen and that she grew up in another country, despite having no trace of an accent. When the staff attempted to ask the duo further questions about their identities and medical history, they quickly left the hospital. In a 2017 interview, Jefferson County Sheriff Craig Doolittle stated that law enforcement still had no substantial leads in the case. Wow, and so we don't really, here's some Jane Does, but I just don't see it. But here we have this missing person, also Megan, I can't remember how to pronounce it, Genevieve. Anyway, she went missing April 30th, August in 1980. She was 2 years old. And she was last seen playing in an unfenced yard, which was located in a remote wooded area. Brown hair. And here's her picture. And here's the picture of the other little girl, see? But I don't think they were abducted by the same person. And there's a Jane Doe that was found in California, May 13th, 1984, ages 1 to 3, infant, female. This Jane Doe was estimated year of death 1984 to 1994, 1 to 3 years old. Cajon, is that how you say that? Cajon, California. San Bernardino County. Partial skeletal remains of a child between 18 months old and 3 years found buried east of Wrightwood. DNA submitted to California Department of Justice Missing Persons DNA Program. Let's see. Torso not recovered. One or both limbs not recovered. One or both hands not recovered. Partial skeleton parts only. Unknown color hair. No clothing or anything found. And then we have this unidentified female, aged 2 to 4 years old, found in Allenston, New Hampshire. Female, estimated year of death 1978 to 1985. May 9, 2000, the skeletal remains of 2 female children were found in an overturned 55-gallon metal barrel off a wooded trail adjacent to Bear Brook State Park in Allenston, New Hampshire. A woman and another female child had been found dead next to a barrel in the same area in 1985. All 4 were victims of homicide. The victims from 1985 and one of the children found in 2000 have since been identified as Marilis Honeychurch and her daughters, Marie Vaughn and Sarah McWaters. Their last known residences were in Connecticut and California. Their killer has been identified as Terry Peter Rasmussen, who died in prison in 2010. Rasmussen had used a number of aliases, including Robert Bob Evans, Curtis Mayo Kimball, Gordon Jensen, Lawrence Larry Vanner, and Gary Mockerman, and he is known to have spent time or lived in Connecticut, New Hampshire, Idaho, Arizona, Hawaii, and California. Through DNA testing, it has been determined that the still unidentified female child found in 2000 is the daughter of Rasmussen. Her age at the death is estimated at 2 to 4 years old. She had fine brown, slightly wavy hair and an overbite that might have been noticeable to others. It is unclear how she is associated with Marlies and her daughters, but it's estimated that they all died at the same time between 1978 and 1984. Advanced forensic testing reveals that this non-related child did not grow up in the same geographical area as the other 3 victims. She likely was born and spent the majority of her childhood in a more northern and inland location, such as northern New Hampshire, northern Vermont, upstate New York, and further inland. So she had slightly wavy brown hair, light brown hair, about 5 inches long at the time of her death. And then they had in Montana, they had in a newspaper article I saw, Montana at the time of this article had 5 missing school children 17 years of age and younger on the Missing Children's Information Program list as of August 16, 1985. Jason F. Jennings, Dwayne E. Berry, Shannon R. Crame, Nyleen K. Marshall, Michael J. Strutzel. The law becomes effective October 1st, 1985, and all Montana schools will receive a notice about the law and the list of Montana's missing school children early in September in an effort to make this program as effective as possible. And at the suggestion of Bill Irwin, Missing and Unidentified Persons Unit Coordinator at the Department of Justice Identification Bureau, we are also including the names of missing children from surrounding states. So, and I'll scroll up a little bit in case you want to see what else it says and pause it and read it. Anyway, don't forget to pray for those missing children and Nyleen K. Marshall and the Jane Does and their families and their loved ones. Feel free to leave comments and have a blessed day. Bye-bye.